Okay, so let's talk about some what people call codependent relationships. And I'm going to talk about it from the perspective of one party rather than both parties for a second. So, most people are familiar with the idea of the comfort zone. And I try to reframe that. What I say is actually your comfort zone can be very uncomfortable. So, what it really is a zone of what you're familiar with. So, if, for example, dad shouted at you when you were little, you might just attract a partner who shouts at you as an adult because that's what you're familiar with. And then when the imprints carry through, you end up with your children shouting at you as well because that's what you're familiar with. And that makes a very difficult trap to get out of as you try and assert your boundaries because you've attracted everybody that shouts at you. And one of the really tough challenges about that kind of situation is if the partner is not willing to acknowledge the problem, that's normally most people would stay in denial. Because that allows them to avoid discussing it, allows them to avoid changing their behavior, it allows them to keep going. Really, the only option the other partner has then is to leave the situation, accept the situation, change the situation. That's the Eckhart Tolle quote there. So if the partner won't change and you are tired of accepting what's going on, then your only other option is leave. And I believe it's mostly women that instigate divorce, and of course it's mostly men, and these are obviously two stereotypes here. It's mostly men that don't want to talk about problems. So if you're in a difficult situation, the very first thing to do is get the other side to talk about it. And you might have to evaluate a difficult situation, which is there the chance that we can progress this to where I want it to go? Or actually am I wasting my time, wasting my breath, my energy, and I actually, for my own sanity, to put my own oxygen mask on first, I need to leave this situation. And sometimes that is the answer. One thing I've noticed with couples doing breakthroughs, so the husband and the wife, or two partners, is that there can be a tendency to quite literally step on each other's sore point. There's a couple of things driving that. One is, what's the real reason that couple got together in the first place? Was there a bit of codependency going on? And so one might have, a need to be right based on the fact that they weren't good enough, so they were never allowed to be right in their past, in their own minds, and they need to be right now. They haven't quite let go of that. And obviously to be right, you need to find somebody else wrong. Guess who the person in the wrong is? Now, if the partner also has, let's call it, self-esteem issues, they may not have the emotional bandwidth to be found wanting, and therefore will, seek to redress that balance by fighting back and finding the partner wrong. So you end up with letting go, having a fight, letting go, having a fight, rather than one of them realizing actually the only strategy is for one or both parties to choose to be at peace and to recognize what the other party is doing is their best to get to peace. And then the old strategies start to fade over time. One of the ways I describe this with people is like, imagine, I'm next to a woodland here. So imagine you're in a path in the woods and you've always gone down this particular path, but you've realized you've let go of the emotion invested in that path. And you're now going to choose a different path. Well, that old path is still there, but what you're now going to do is consciously choose to go a different way. And over time, that old path overgrows until it no longer exists. And that's a sort of analogy for what most people find themselves is the old pathway is too enticing. Even though they haven't got the emotion invested in it, it's what they feel familiar with. And so the point is to insert that pause when something happens, an old trigger point, whatever it is, to think about, right, how do I want to respond to that? In the past, this would have triggered me to react emotionally, react negatively, get angry, whatever. But actually, I'm going to make a different choice now. I'm either going to ignore it, I'm going to empathize, or I'm just going to leave the situation. But I'm going to do react in a way that leaves me peaceful, because I now understand that getting upset is beneath me. And that's maybe something worth exploring. So this is a Balinese philosophy, I understand, that if I think about the fact that I would have to lower my state to become upset, and to regard that it is beneath me to become upset, I can be more dissociated. I can look down on an event and decide, no, I don't want to join in that. I'm enjoying my peaceful state. I can see what's going on. I can hear what's going on, but I don't need to feel it. I can let it be. And that makes it easier then for the party who may still have some releasing to do, just get over their stuff by themselves without somebody, attacking them because they feel aggrieved too. And if both grievances are not in balance, then we have to start fighting again. So that's one of the things I notice in sort of couple dynamics, is that both have a sore point, and somebody has to choose to leave the sore point alone to let the other one heal. And in that way, you break the cycle.